Okay. Well, to be honest, at one point I think I overheard the conversation. Somebody was asking my mother, and she was being asked, "Do you think any of her children would go into politics?" And then she said, "Perhaps there would have been something wrong in the way we raised him up. If out of 5 children we couldn't even get one into politics." But I guess the blessing that I really got from having parents such as them was the fact that they really lived, I guess the way you Americans would put it, they walk the talk. You know, as opposed to being theoretical, as opposed to not even being able to explain why modes of behavior should be such. They actually demonstrated it rather than just lectured about it. And whenever I find myself in times of tremendous stress, I look at their examples and say, what is this compared to what they had to undergo? That inspires me.
One of the problems that both the United States and the Philippines faces, the threat of terrorism. How do you try to balance strengthening democracy with fighting terrorism?
Well, I think we start out with the truth shall set us all free. So when there are people who are trying to, how should I put it, indoctrinate those who are vulnerable to join an extremist ideology, we ask, is that really the right route? How does that propose the solution? Then we demonstrate where it can be different. There can be other alternatives to addressing various issues and challenges. I guess in a very fundamental level, I go back to what my father taught me. The very first freedom has to be freedom from hunger. Everything else pales in comparison to addressing that concern. So that has been our focus in the areas in the southern Philippines that might be vulnerable to it. We have been demonstrating that there are dividends to peace, that there is a possibility that government is really there to take care of you and to give you all of the opportunities possible, that you don't have to devolve into an area of cynicism and being of jaundiced hope, that there really is a way to improve your lot if there is some cooperation.
Thank you. There is now tension in the South China Seas. I was wondering how you see that unfolding and whether you think the threat of China and its possible expansion politically and militarily threatens the Philippines.
Well, on my watch, there have been 2 major incidents that have changed the way we have dealt with each other and have changed, shall we say, the ground rules that have been there. For instance, I guess from the 70s, willingly or reluctantly, they allowed us to perform our law enforcement obligations, specifically under UNCLOS. For instance, we are also both signatories to a treaty called CITES, which is the Convention on the International Trafficking of Endangered Species. Okay. So when we arrest fisherfolk under UNCLOS within our 200-mile economic zone, there has never been any interference until lately. So there was an incident on Scarborough Shoal. We had the flagship of the Philippine Navy transiting our waters to go to our eastern coast to monitor a so-called satellite launch by the North Koreans. And one of the stages of their boosters would fall under our territory. We wanted to monitor that there wouldn't be any danger. Proceeding there, we chanced upon 8 fishing vessels of China fishing in Scarborough Shoal, and as normal practice would have it, they were accosted by this Philippine Navy vessel because it was the vessel in that immediate area. Normally it would be our Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. 2 of the ships were loaded to the gunwales with a lot of endangered species. And that was the first time that they interfered. Now, prior to that, and Scarborough Shoal is about 120 miles from the coastline of the province of Zambales in the Philippines. Prior to that, if I remember correctly, we gave a service contract for exploration of oil and gas off Palawan, about 80 miles in a feature called the Reed Bank. That was also accosted. So they have been interfering. If you look at the various portrayals of the so-called 9-dash line, which is the basis of their claim from, I think, 1947, you will note that practically the entire western coastline of the Philippines is suddenly gone. Now,
Meron ng mga bagong protocol dahil Pakibaba naman, pakibaba. Hindi lang po kayo cover.
At saka dito na lang namin ginawa para hindi kayo ma-expose sa loob ng hospital. So ito po yung statement ng aming pamilya. Kagaya ng serbisyong binigay niya sa bayan, hindi maingat. Trabaho galing sa puso dahil alam niya kayo ang boss niya. Kaya nga nakilala siya bilang si P-Noy. Dahil ayaw niyang maramdaman na dapat siyang bigyan ng kakaibang pansin. Hangarin niyang hindi mapahiya sa inyo dahil sa paghikayat na mahirap man. Pero tama na sundin ang daan mag-win. Nagawa niya ang lahat ng iyon. Masakit po para sa amin na tahimik niyang tinanggap ang mga batikos. Natatak sa aming mga magkakapatid na nung sinabihan namin siyang magsalita at labanan ang mga maling haka-haka. Simple lang ang sagot niya sa amin. Kaya pa niyang matulog sa gabi. Hinarap niya ang lahat ng investigasyon at akusasyon. Sandigan Bayan, November 2017, Senado noong December 2017, at Kongreso noong February 2018. Because when you enter public service, when you serve with honesty and dignity, and you know you have committed no crimes against the people, hindi ka matatakot magsabi ng totoo. Pribado po siyang tao. Bago pa man ang pandemic, labas-pasok na po siya sa ospital. Nais namin magpasalamat sa lahat ng mga doktor at sa buong medical team na nag-alaga sa kapatid namin. Naramdaman namin bilang mga kapatid niya that they did everything to make him comfortable. They became compassionate friends who gave him true respect by valuing and protecting his privacy. Sa lahat ng mga totoong kaibigan niya, na walang palya siyang dinadalaw, dinetext, pinapadalhan ng pagkain, sinasamahan at pinoprotektahan siya, salamat po. Sa mga madre at pare na malapit sa pamilya namin, na walang sawang pinagdasal ang kanyang paggaling, salamat din po. Sa tropa niya, kay Ivy at siguro ang numero 1 sa listahan, si Yoli, na 30 years siyang pinalagaan. Lahat ng kasama niya sa Times Street na mula nung pandemic, bihirang nabuo. Dahil alam nila, delikado para sa kanya. Salamat. Sa mga botante ng 2nd District ng Tarlac noong 1998, kayo ang unang pumoto sa kanya. Sa inyo siya nagsimula. 3 terms ang nabuo niya. Sa 14.3 million Filipinos na in 2007, voted for him to become senator, and sa 15.2 million Filipinos na nagtiwala sa kanya noong 2010 at binigay ang pinakamalaking karangalan na pwedeng ipagkaloob sa kahit na sinong Pilipino. Habang buhay namin tatanawin na utang na loob yung naibigay ninyo sa aming kapatid. Maraming salamat po. It is with profound grief that on behalf of our family, I am confirming that our brother, Benigno, Noynoy Aquino Jr, died peacefully in his sleep. His death certificate pronounced his death at 6:30 a.m. due to renal disease secondary to diabetes. No words can express how broken our hearts are and how long it will take for us to accept the reality that he is gone. Mission accomplished, Kanoy. Be happy now with Dad and Mom. We love you and we are so blessed to have had the privilege to have had you as our brother. We will miss you forever, Noy.